Hi, this is Anonymous Bells. I'm Megan Turner. I'm with Colleen Alice, sorry. And we're talking about the revision process today, what it's like to revise your manuscript, what kind of like tips we might have about that. Yeah, so Colleen, I'm going to have you take it away.
Yeah,
What
I
is your revision process like? And yeah, how has it been? How does it differ for different, novels or short stories or yeah.
yeah, I really love this question. Because I think, well, I think I came up with this question. So I say that with like humility. But some writers, I just like to talk about revision, and I think it's some writers don't. Some writers don't
Yeah.
like to do revision,
Mhm.
and so it's kind of like the are you a plotter or are you a pantser? It's like one of those questions, right? That divides us. Like, do you revise a lot? Do you revise a little?
Yeah.
Do you get energized by revision? And I think for my fiction, for like longer fiction, I do get energized by revision. Like I do get a lot of joy out of just
Mhm.
like, oh, this whole chapter has got to go, or like this whole section needs to come earlier in the book or whatever. I think, and I wonder if that's like a result of the fact that I do draft fast. I am a pantser and I just like get it all out. So maybe revision is less painful because I'm a lot less married to a lot when I go in. But I do try not to revise as I draft. I know that's another kind of facet. Some writers like will not move on until it's perfect. And I go the other way with it. It's just a drop of slough and, or just a bunch of garbage. And I'm just revising before it gets too good anyway. But yeah, so I don't know if that's a revision process, except to say I do try to get a full draft down, and then I do try to like walk away for a while, and then I try to come back and I try to be really merciless and just kind of willing in the early stages to like,
Mhm.
what have I got? You're like reading the tea leaves. You're like, okay, what is this?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it works for fiction.
Yeah, I think my process is actually maybe this won't be that interesting to people, but it's pretty similar.
That's
Um,
okay.
and I actually think revision is so important and I don't mind it either. And I feel like it's really mostly helpful to me. And Um, I think I'm a bit slower in the drafting process, but I do write the whole, manuscript or whatever I'm writing before I go back and edit. I mean, sometimes I am editing a little as I go, but it's like sort of more line editing um, and um, when I get to the end, I usually spend a good chunk of time kind of revising. It used to be, I mean, if I was working on a novel, it used to be almost a whole year of editing. Maybe I've gotten faster about it. I don't know, or it depends on like, if the manuscript is in better shape or, maybe I've just gotten like the sense of how it goes better. But um, sometimes I'm like really meticulous about it and I go in and like sort of put in notes to myself and say like, and try to like organize the edits I'm going to do based on that. Like, oh, I'm going to work on this character, and I label all of those edits that for that character, and then I'm going to work on this plot point, and then it makes it easier for me to find like where I want to make changes. Because I think the hardest thing is like where can I go in and what things do I need to change and what do I not need to change, and I think it can be helpful to be like really systematic about that. Um, I don't know if my revision process is different for short stories, but except that it's faster.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think it might be harder to know what to do with a short story sometimes because it really has to be. It's usually the revision process is all like one piece, and there's not like little things to do. It's sort of like, is the story working or is it not? And what
Yeah.
is wrong with it? And sometimes it can take a while if the story's off to figure out what needs to be fixed. And sometimes that does end up like I've had a short story where I feel like I had to rewrite the whole thing because I realized that it wasn't telling it the way that it needed to be told. Like I think I had a story with you guys that I wrote in like sequential order, and then I decided to write it in the opposite way, and I had all the pieces, but I had to go back and like kind of flip everything and make it work, and then so that was a big revision.
That's epic. Yeah, that's awesome.
um but yeah, overall I think it's a helpful process, and I think I don't mind um cutting things or changing things around.
Mhm.
Do you have like a thought about things that are like the most difficult for you, like in the revision process?
I guess just in the sense of like thinking about does every scene serve either developing the character or advancing the plot? And
Hmm.
sometimes I feel like it is, and then I'm like, get real, it's not.
Yeah,
Be honest with yourself, it's not. And so then cut, cut. But
yeah,
I wonder if I don't know, we should have interviewed a writer who like hates revision to
right.
then make the counter argument maybe, but or like is it a waste of it, or is it the notion that if you have to revise a lot, you've somehow wasted your time or something? And
Yeah,
I
I
just
don't
don't
know.
feel that way about it. And I think that's interesting. I don't view it as I just wrote a blog post about how I had a piece that was a novel, but it was only 60,000 words and it really wasn't working. So I made it a novella. So now it's 38,000 words. So that's
Mhm,
huge, right? That was a
mhm.
big revision, big cuts. But I was like, that was fine. I guess
Yeah,
I should bemoan like the wasted hours, but like, I don't know. For me, it was just confirming that the story wanted to only be the novella length and it did. I let it try to be a novel and it just like
yeah,
didn't want to do it. And so I was like, okay, I'm not gonna force that. But I don't know. That wasn't wasted for me. That was fun. And maybe it's just like what
yeah.
we're just like nerds. And so we're not bothered because we're like
Yeah.
learning. And when nerds are learning, nerds are happy. But I learned. I thought it was a learning experience. So
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, writing is kind of like a puzzle, and you're putting all the pieces together. And that's what I like about a novel because there's so many pieces, and it's hard to like see, oh, how does this piece fit to this piece? And I like that, and I think that fits in with the revision process. I think it's harder for me when I have to write a new scene that I have to like sort of insert somewhere or put something in that wasn't there before because that's harder to make it. To me, it stands out, and I'm like, oh, how do I make it seem like it really fits there? Um, that can be like a little tricky. I think I don't know. I mean, uh, do we have tips for writers who dread the process? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. If you've come for that, we have nothing to tell you. Just get over it. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
Don't think it's time wasted. It's not
yeah,
wasted.
yeah. I mean, I think I remember being in a workshop and one of my professors saying that like some of the students just never revised anything and they just turned in the same thing, and it was like, oh, okay. And it's like a good poem or a good story, but then it doesn't get any better, and it's just like, well, it has this
Exactly.
potential. Maybe it's just something that takes practice, and it's um,
Yeah. Or like we have to grow out of the mindset that it's punitive because like high
mhm.
school and college, if you're told you have to revise a paper, it's like, oh, because it's not good enough. And then in
Yeah,
the creative writing field, that doesn't apply. You're not revising it because it's not good enough, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I
You
think it
are
might have to
doing.
do with that sort of perfectionism kind of feeling of like I want it to be just perfect
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
first draft or something.
Yeah, so like get rid of that notion and have fun, I think. So
Yeah,
there's a tip.
right. Right. I think it's supposed to be fun. I think I get excited when I figured something out. I mean, I think there are
Yeah.
definitely moments when I'm revising and where I get frustrated. Um, and then I think, oh God, I'm never going to figure this out, or it's not going to. And then the next day I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I do.
Oh yeah, that works.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, but I think you have to be open and like sort of flexible about it. Yeah, I mean, one of my tips is to always have to, I think it can feel like um, a drag a little sometimes, and you're maybe you're not involved in the sort of like the writing and the create as it's not as creative in some way. And I think I've maybe mentioned this before in another one of our videos, but I think having something else that you're working on while you're editing could be helpful, just to like that's a new thing, so that it doesn't feel like you're sort of stuck, in the old, like, oh, this is like week, 16, and I'm still,
Still
still
revising this
working this
thing.
on this novel. Uh, so I think that can sometimes be helpful, but
Yeah.
or like to take a break from it a little bit if you need
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, taking a break is helpful. And another helpful thing I think is switching modalities. So I've been evangelizing lately, like all of 2025, I've been evangelizing about listening
Hmm.
because I figured out how to have an app. And this is not a commercial for that app. There's a number of them out there. The one I use is called 11 Reader, and you can upload a Word document and you're listening to an AI voice read it. It's
Hmm.
pretty good. It is free. You get like 2 hours free a week. So if you want to try it. But I just listening
Hmm.
to a work in progress, I'm like, I am learning so much. I'm constantly blown away when it comes to revising what I learned from listening. And then when I feel like it's polished, it's the listening is also helpful for the line edits or the line level, right? Because that's
Mhm.
when you're like, oh, I'm realizing I'm using the same word three times in one page or something, or one, 5 minute stint, and then that stands out to you.
Mhm.
So I definitely think list like just changing modalities is a way to like see the work differently, which is supposed to be right, revise, see
Mhm.
it in a new way. So like
Mhm.
listening has helped me really see it totally differently.
Yeah. You still haven't convinced me to use that, but I read
I
it, I
also
do read out loud to myself, so
Yeah, I can tell, and I don't mean to be snobby, but I can tell who, when I'm reading books, I can tell which writers read it out loud
yeah.
because you see skipped words, you see wrong words, you see,
Uh-huh.
and I'm like, well, you didn't read it out loud or you didn't listen because you
Mhm.
catch missed words.
I mean, it can help also when you like print out something sometimes to see, because you always like if I've missed a word or something, I can see it. If I didn't see it on the screen, I can see it on the page or, I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, do you have any thoughts about research? That's my last real question about, do you think that's part of the revision process? I kind of threw that in there as a, I mean, in some books I am doing a lot of research and some I'm not. Um, but anyway, I don't know. Do you have thoughts about that, Colleen, or not really?
Yeah, not a ton. I haven't
Yeah.
done a lot. I mean, I think like research a little before I would dive into drafting,
Hmm.
but I mean, I guess placeholders are good, and then you can always come back and
Hmm.
I wrote a historical fiction novel, and
Yeah.
was it Garrett? It was like that's not the right car or something. Like, oh, okay. Like you can go back and it can be a placeholder to like
Yeah. I
figure it
know. I mean,
out.
I have a lot of authors that I work with who I think are writing historical fiction, and they've done a ton of research. And I actually feel like sometimes that can be, um, it can prevent them from being able to really write.
Yeah.
And so my thing that I like to do as part of the revision process is to do some of the research. And I do some of it as I'm writing, like a little bit, but I try not to like overload it because I think if I need a lot of research, I tend to do it at the end and like check sort of things because, or if I'm going to read a book or something that supports it or interview someone, I don't want it to sort of like influence the story in a way that it's so it doesn't feel like it's my story. Like I want if there's history or research to do, I want it to be sort of part of something I've already written, and that I
Yeah.
can change it. It's like kind of something I've come up with, when I used to write research papers for school, where it's like if you're writing, you want to have your own thoughts in there before you're like getting research to support it in a way. And I feel like it's similar for me for a novel or something that needs extra research. I kind of hold it until I get to the like revision um, phase. I don't know.
No, I
Um,
think that makes sense because there might be a real temptation. If you've done a ton of research, you almost want to put in like what kind of, what kind of car, what kind. And it's like, well, if that isn't important to the scene, you don't even need to
Yeah,
say.
it's like you're overloaded with information. And sometimes I feel like some of the historical people that or historical like stories
Yeah,
that I read are so, it's just like reading research. And I'm like, well, like I want to hear the voice in the story. So I kind of feel like that can really like sort of kind of prevent you from writing. That's not like
yeah.
the right, but kind of, it like it
Hinder it.
forces you into sort of this little box. Um, so yeah, that's my thought about research.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Colleen, I think this is a
Awesome.
pretty good chat. Do you have other thoughts about revision before we end the call?
No, we didn't do poetry or I think that's a
Yeah,
whole other, I
yeah,
don't know. That's like good luck. I don't know. Poetry revisions, I don't know. They go all over the place.
oh yeah,
Sometimes you literally just rewrite the whole poem.
yeah, yeah.
It depends, as I like to say. So,
Yeah, but I think that's a topic that we can go dive into a little more next time or another time.
sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think this was good. So I guess until next time, keep reading and writing and Anonymous Bells signing off.
Yeah. Thanks for chatting with me, Megan. I'll talk to you
Okay,
soon.
bye.
Okay, bye.